My parents chose my brother over me, then lost everything. My name is Ethan Parker. I'm 32 years old, and I live in Denver, Colorado, where I own a small commercial construction company. 10 years ago, my parents threw me out of their house with a trash bag full of clothes, $73 in cash, and a warning never to come back. Last year, those same parents showed up at my office begging me to save them. The worst part? They acted like I owed them. If you've ever been the child your family blamed for everything, you'll understand exactly how this story begins. Growing up, I was always the problem. At least that's what my parents said. My older brother Tyler was their golden child. He could do no wrong. If he got a C in school, they said the teacher was unfair. If he got suspended, they said someone else started it. When I got straight A's, my parents barely noticed. When I made one mistake, it became a family discussion. I learned early that there were different rules for Tyler and me. Tyler got a car when he turned 16. I got a lecture about responsibility. Tyler received money for college. I was told to get a job. My mother always had excuses. Your brother needs more support. Your brother has potential. Your brother is under pressure. I stopped arguing after a while. Nothing ever changed. My father wasn't much different. Whenever Tyler got into trouble, Dad would quietly clean up the mess. Whenever I had a problem, Dad would tell me to figure it out myself. The strange thing was that I kept trying. I kept hoping that one day they'd see me. One day they'd be proud of me. One day they'd love me the way they loved Tyler. But some children spend years chasing something that was never meant for them. When I was 17, Tyler crashed his second car while driving drunk. My parents paid for the damages. They paid his legal fees. They even bought him another vehicle 6 months later. At 18, I graduated near the top of my class. I remember bringing home my diploma. My mother glanced at it for maybe 3 seconds. Then she asked if I could help Tyler move furniture. That was my life. Everything revolved around him. A month after graduation, Tyler started a fight at a neighborhood party. Several people were injured. The police got involved. One witness claimed had started everything. Another witness said I had been there too. I wasn't even at the party. I was working a night shift at a warehouse. There were security cameras proving it, time cards proving it, coworkers proving it. None of that mattered. My parents believed Tyler immediately. They convinced themselves I had somehow been involved. The argument exploded one Sunday morning. My father stood in the kitchen screaming, "You embarrass this family." I stared at him in disbelief. Tyler was the one who got arrested. My mother pointed at me. "You always have an excuse." I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was insane. For 18 years I had followed every rule. And somehow I was still the villain. That's when Tyler walked in smirking, watching, enjoying every second. Something inside me finally broke. I looked directly at my parents. "You know what? Believe whatever you want." My father's face turned red. "Then get out." The room went silent. I thought he didn't mean it. Then he repeated himself. "Get out of my house." My mother didn't stop him. She didn't defend me. She simply folded her arms and looked away. That hurt more than anything. An hour later, I was standing outside with a trash bag of clothes. No car, no savings, no plan, no family. Just a kid trying not to cry in front of his neighbors. That night, I slept in my friend's basement. I remember staring at the ceiling and asking myself the same question over and over. What did I do wrong? The answer was nothing, but it took me years to understand that. The next few years were brutal. I worked warehouse jobs, construction jobs, delivery jobs, anything that paid. I slept on couches they shared, tiny apartments, skipped meals, worked 70-hour weeks. There were moments when I wanted to quit, moments when I wondered if my parents were right about me. But every time I felt myself slipping, I remembered that day. I remembered standing outside with that trash bag, and I promised myself I would never need them again. At 22, I got my contractor's license. At 24, I started my own company. At first, it was just me and one pickup truck, then 2 employees, then 6, then 15. Year after year, the business grew, slowly, painfully. But honestly, by 30, I owned a successful company. I bought my first home, paid off my debts, built a life I was proud of, and through all those years, I never heard from my parents. Not once, no birthday calls, no holidays, no apologies, nothing. It was as if I had never existed. Then everything changed. One rainy afternoon, my receptionist called me. "Ethan, there are 2 people here asking for you." I looked through the office window and nearly dropped my coffee. My parents were standing in the lobby. 10 years, 10 years without a word. And suddenly they appeared, older, tired, nervous. I walked downstairs. My mother immediately started crying. My father looked uncomfortable. "Ethan," she whispered, "we need to talk. Not we miss you, not we're sorry, not how have you been. We need to talk." I took them into a conference room. For the first few minutes, they made awkward small talk. Then the truth came out. Tyler had destroyed everything. Over the years, my parents had continued rescuing him, paying debts, covering loans, fixing mistakes, again and again, until there was nothing left. They had mortgaged their house, drained retirement accounts, borrowed money. Tyler wasted it all, failed businesses, gambling, bad investments, luxury purchases. Every time he promised to change, every time he failed. Now they were nearly bankrupt, and Tyler had disappeared. My father finally looked at me. "We need help." There it was, the real reason they came. Not love, not regret, money. My mother reached across the table. "You're successful now." I stared at her. Neither of them had apologized. Neither of them had acknowledged what they did. They simply expected me to rescue them. The same way they'd rescued Tyler. For a moment, I saw my 18-year-old self sitting across from them, the kid with the trash bag, the kid nobody chose, the kid nobody defended. I took a deep breath. Then I asked one question. "Do you regret what happened?" Silence. My father looked away. My mother hesitated. Then she said the words that changed everything. "We did what we thought was best. Not an apology, an excuse." I nodded slowly. For the first time in my life, I felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no sadness, no hope, just clarity. I stood up. "I hope things work out for you." My mother's eyes widened. "That's it?" I looked directly at her. I was 18. I needed help too. Neither of them spoke. "You made your choice." Then I walked out. 3 months later, my parents sold their house. A year later, they moved into a small apartment. Tyler never came back. The golden child they sacrificed everything for disappeared when they needed him most. Meanwhile, my life continued. My company expanded again. I got married to an incredible woman. We welcomed our first daughter. For the first time in my life, I experienced what real family felt like: support, respect, love without conditions. The hardest part wasn't being homeless. It wasn't the money. It wasn't even the uncertainty. The hardest part was realizing that nobody from my family cared where I was. For weeks, I kept checking my phone. Part of me believed my mother would call. Maybe she'd calm down. Maybe she'd tell Dad he went too far. Maybe she'd ask me to come home. But the call never came. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Nothing. It felt like I had died and been erased from the family photo. Meanwhile, Tyler continued living comfortably in my old bedroom. My aunt eventually told me something that hurt more than being kicked out. A few months after I left, my parents hosted a family barbecue. Relatives asked where I was. My mother told everyone I had chosen to leave. She claimed I was disrespectful and impossible to live with. My father nodded along. They turned me into the villain. I remember sitting in my car after hearing that. I couldn't stop staring through the windshield. The people who were supposed to protect me were rewriting history. And the worst part? Most relatives believed them. For years, I carried that pain. Every holiday was difficult. Every birthday felt empty. I would see families celebrating together while I worked overtime. Sometimes I'd watch fathers teaching their sons things I had to learn alone. It made me wonder what I had done to deserve any of it. One winter night, I was working a construction shift during a snowstorm. The temperature was below freezing. My hands were numb. My boots were soaked. I remember standing on that job site and realizing something important. Nobody was coming to save me. Not my parents, not my brother. Nobody, if my life was going to improve, I had to build it myself. That realization changed everything. I stopped waiting for apologies. I stopped hoping for acceptance. I stopped chasing people who didn't want me. Instead, I focused on becoming someone I could respect. Every extra hour I worked became an investment in my future. Every skill I learned became another step forward. Slowly, my confidence returned. The boy who got kicked out started disappearing. A stronger version of me began taking his place. Years later, when my business became successful, I occasionally heard news about Tyler. The stories were always the same. He had another failed business, another unpaid loan, another excuse, another crisis. And every single time, my parents rushed to save him. I couldn't understand it. They had spent decades teaching him that actions had no consequences. Then they acted surprised when he never changed. One relative told me something that perfectly explained my family. She said, "Your parents spent so much time protecting Tyler from reality that reality became the one thing he couldn't survive." I never forgot those words, because they were true. While Tyler was being rescued, I was being tested. While he was being protected, I was being prepared. And eventually those different paths led to very different outcomes. Sometimes people ask if I regret not helping my parents. The answer is no. Because helping someone and enabling someone are not the same thing. My parents spent decades rewarding bad behavior and punishing responsibility. Eventually, those choices caught up with them. That wasn't revenge. That was consequence. The greatest lesson I learned is that being rejected by the wrong people can be the best thing that ever happens to you. The day my parents kicked me out felt like the end of my life. In reality, it was the beginning. Sometimes, the people who refuse to see your worth are the very people standing between you and the life you're meant to build. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do isn't getting revenge. It's succeeding without them. And that's exactly what I did.